Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment in our Golf Blitz Tips and Tricks series. Today, everything gets turned on its head, quite literally, because we will be looking at the Antigrav Lab tour. This is tour number 13, and this tour comes into effect around about the same time that you get the Antigrav ball as a part of your kit. And it really kind of starts to open the pathways of how you can go about alternatively thinking with a lot of these courses. So we're going to go through the different holes that are on this tour and help you get a little bit better at them. So without further ado, let's jump into the holes on the Antigrav Lab tour. So first up, we have a hole that it seems very straightforward, but there's actually a fair amount of care that you're going to want to put into this, because you're going to try and make your way up this course as quickly as you can. And the best thing to do is to kind of get to the point where whatever last shot you take can bring you up and around, because just as was demonstrated there, it will allow you to seamlessly roll into the hole, assuming that you don't have any interference such as a grenade from one of your opponents. Now this hole is a very interesting one as well, as there's a couple of different ways you can go about it. If you have the antigrav ball or the space ball, you can take an alternate path up this way, and we'll probably demo that a little bit later. But if you're not fortunate enough to have one of those power-ups, then you're going to want to go the traditional way, which is by making your way over here and then up through the rest of the antigrav sections, using those segments over there to kind of boost your way onto the green if you get lucky. If not, you'll kind of end up on this middle platform, and from there it's a very simple straight shot back over to the green and to kind of finish things out. So just kind of be mindful based off of what tools you have at your disposal there. Now this hole is another one that can be pretty fun, and you're going to get the most benefit out of it if you are able to use, again, either the space ball, the antigrav ball, or even the gooey ball to stick over here onto this wall, because that gives you a shorter path directly up to the green. But if you don't have that, you're going to want to make your way up this course a little bit more carefully, especially because this is a high point for sabotage. Now, if you take a shorter shot onto this platform, you may even be able to bypass the lip that I'm on currently altogether. But if not, it's not the end of the world by any means. So we'll just go ahead and take a shot up here. And that doesn't quite get us over onto the green, but this next one will, and just by nature of the challenge, we will need to take a final putt in order to finish it out. Now that's the long way around. We'll probably showcase that a little bit later using some better tools in the terms of the gooey or the sticky element, the antigrav, or I don't think I have access to the space ball, but that is definitely one that works here as well. Now here again, you can use the antigrav ball to make your way closer to the top of the course. I recommend taking a bounce off of the lower section here, otherwise you're going to get stuck in some of the gooey or the putty that's up along the lines of this chasm as it makes its way over to the top. But all things considered, the general rule here goes that you're moving from low to high. So anytime you have the antigrav power-up available, it's going to be beneficial. And like I mentioned just a moment ago here, this is another section that you highly benefit from having the antigrav ball, because you can make your way right up to the little green and the pitch there. And that really makes things a lot easier. You may get an unlucky bounce and end up a little further over to the right, but at the same time, it's still not the end of the world there, and you can make a fairly easy follow-up as opposed to going through the whole course. So this is what I was talking about just a moment ago with these segments of the hole. If you have the antigrav, you're going to have a much easier time, because you can just make your way right up to the end of this section, and then if you bounce off of this part here, you can roll right down onto the green. If you don't come in as quickly as you just saw me demonstrate, you may even be able to roll immediately into the hole. So there is a definite workaround for that, provided that you have Antigrav or the early game elixir to take that shot. It is the faster route either way, even if you have to wait for your elixir. Now here's another hole that can be a lot of fun. Now with this one, you're going to get the best benefit out of either the Antigrav or the Super Ball here, because you can make your way right up to the top. And of course the Antigrav is going to be a little bit better because it'll automatically deposit you kind of up here, where you're going to have an easier time finishing out the hole. But honestly, either one works as opposed to making your way slowly up the step ladder here at the start of the hole. From here, you're just going to want to try and time your shot with this gravity field here. I kind of messed that up, but you do want to try and do so in a way that's going to allow you to get as close to that hole, or even just make your way directly into it without any need for a follow-up shot once you do get to that final pitch. Now I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but on this stepping stool area, if you have the Antigrav ball, it's going to make things just a little bit easier on you, as opposed to using the Super Ball there, because it allows you to bypass some of the required follow-up shots towards the end here. So if you have that as an available option, I would invite you to use it. If not, do whatever you can to skip as many of these steps down here at the bottom as possible. Now here is another hole that can be quite a bit of fun. And Antigrav, again, is going to be a very beneficial power-up to have here, but you can even make do with the gooey ball right here by sticking up into this channel and then taking a secondary shot. But you can just as easily accomplish that with the Super Ball there, making your way all the way up to the top. Now here I'm going to bypass some of the more technical bits. If you're an early game player, you probably don't have the power stat to make it all the way up here to the green, in which case you're going to want to make your way around these edges. But if you have the option to bypass these Antigrav segments along the walls and roof, I would advise you to do so. Now this one's another one that can be quite a bit of fun. So you've basically got to snake your way up this kind of ladder area. If you have enough power, you can just get right into that gravity segment with your first shot and then make your way onto this other section with your second one. If you are at a lower level of combatant, then you will definitely have to take an initial shot over here onto this platform, as it's not really worth waiting around for a power-up to kind of make that shot like I just demoed there with the alt account. If you have the starting game elixir, you can choose to burn that. If you don't have as much invested into the power stat, you just kind of got to be mindful with your approaching options there, based off of what tools you have available to you. This hole can be a little tricky if you're not familiar with it. Basically, you've got to line up a shot with this little Antigrav patch that slides up and down along the wall here. You can then either choose to take a shot up here into this Antigrav section, or you can just take the direct shot from that landing over here as opposed to having to rely on that Antigrav bit. Now from here, you're going to want to try and time that when the Antigrav is at the top of that ramp. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in that water hazard, which is not an ideal place to be. From there, provided that you don't use any other resources to make your way up to the putting green, you can make your way into this rotating section of the Antigrav that will throw you up onto the green itself to finish out the hole, provided that you don't have any hindrances from other golfers. So this hole can be a little bit tricky depending on the power-ups you have. Now I'm not going to demo this one because it's fairly self-explanatory, but if you have the Antigrav ball or the Super Ball, you can bypass this section. If you have the Super Ball, you'll just want to kind of make sure that you take that shot while the grav field is over here on the right-hand side of this opening chasm. But if not, you'll just kind of want to make your way through this course as best you can, and it should kind of coax you up along it as you go. So that will certainly help your case, assuming that you don't take a fall down onto the lower sections of the course like I just kind of did there. Apart from that, you're just going to want to take some nice and easy shots up towards the final spot here, and it's going to throw basically everyone for a loop. So just kind of find a method that works well for you, ideally straddling in between those sections, or again, if you have a power-up that allows you to bypass it entirely, please do that. Here's another hole that is quite a bit of fun. Now the trick here is you're going to want to try and ride this section over to the goo here at the bottom portion, and then if you've got something like the anti-grav ball, you can just bypass all the way up to the top. If you don't, try and use a power-up that gets you into this little gravity section here, because that's going to make the final approach towards the top significantly easier. But again, the anti-grav ball is just kind of a cheat code on this map. It's intended to be as you're meant to go from low to high. Well, I've played through this course a couple of additional times just to make sure that we've hit everything. I do believe that to be the case. So if you found today's video helpful, interesting, and or enjoyable, make sure that you hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for the daily variety content. Thanks so much for your time, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day.